PIF are flown into Tyneside, whilst Newcastle are flying into Emirates. Can we get one over the Gunners? And what do the PIF have got to say for themselves? Find out right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Brilliant from Sham. And now Murphy could take on the shot. Fabian Sham
Big up to you guys. I hope you guys are well. And I don't know if wherever you are in the world, it should be Friday everywhere, hopefully, unless I don't know where you be in the world, but it's still Thursday. Either way, I hope you guys are well. And I hope you guys are having a blessed week. No matter where you are in the world, you could have been anywhere, but you're right here with me, and God bless you for that, folks. So I'm having a weird one because I had a tooth taken out, and now that I'm talking more and more, I'm feeling it a little bit less. So I'm feeling it more and more, which is weird. But I've got a lot for tonight's show as well. Even had a last minute thing I had to put in as well. Let's see if we can get it all in. But we are going to be looking at PIF coming to Tyneside. We're going to be reading an article from Mark Douglas to see what it's all about, to get the overall view of what's happening for Newcastle before we head into our match preview for the Arsenal game, and to break it down tactically and essentially talk about where our Newcastle going to be at and what mind state is everybody at for this game as well. Just before actually game came on, I saw at half time scoreline Forest 4, Sunderland 0. And I'm like, oh my word, that's a heck of a scoreline. It's going to be a funny old end to the season, honestly. Let's see what kind of end we get going on for the Arsenal game as well. And if we can get it in, hopefully we should do, actually, a whole lot of stuff around scouting profiles. We're going to continue looking at the forward line. On Tuesday, we looked at the left wing options. This one, we're going to focus on the number 9, which we've done in different parts, but I want to focus in on that and see what we can get from it anyway. But before we get into in fact, let me make sure I set up my screen for the Mark Douglas article. Where is it? Yeah, I think you're there. But before we get into it, let me make sure I say hello to all the folks that are here. Big up to my man, Ches. God bless you, Ches. All the way from South Africa. Hi, hope you are well. Living life to the full, sir. Living life to the full. And Ches says you're late. Gosh, my voice is going already. Whew. You're late, mate. Being late is an African thing. Ches is from South Africa, guys. All right. If you take that away from us, we have nothing, Philip. I always rail against that. Again, no, not with you, but like just in general. I'm like, nah, man, we could do things on time and everything else like that. But I hear what you're saying, man. But I hope you guys are all well. Big up to my man, Big Preach, always supporting the channel. Big friend of the channel as well. And guys, do lock into Fair Play TV. Liverpool content as well, but good conversation, but just like him and his man Jay as well. It's lovely having I think it's say lovely. It's really good having a co-host like you can bounce off like that. I think that's really good. Welcome to Tony and the Flying Crumpets. That's a great name, by the way. I don't know if it's your first time to the channel or not, but you're most welcome. God bless you. Great to have you. Chair says, I know Philip mate, just kidding. I'm just making fun. I know you are. It just triggered something else for me. I know you are. No, I did it a joke. Sorry. Keep making them. It's no problem, just honestly. There's no problem. All right, folks. Let's get into it. PIF are flying in. And I don't know if you guys remember this. I tried to get into my thumbnail, like if you guys got the film reference. I don't know if maybe I don't know what people's age ranges are, but it's from a film called A Few Good Men. That famous line from Jack Nicholson when Tom Cruise says to him, when Jack Nicholson first says to him, "What do you want?" and Tom Cruise says, "I want the truth," and Jack Nicholson replies, "You can't handle the truth." And we're gonna find out what just from this Mark Douglas. I haven't even read it, by the way. This Mark Douglas article they're gonna read yet, so we're gonna find out from it whether who can't handle the truth. Is it? That's right. That's right, Ches. You can't handle the truth. Exactly. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to handle the truth from this article or not yet. I haven't had a chance to read it just yet. But let me take this off first. But let's get into it. Let us get into it. In fact, is it already here? Yes, it is. I've got the wrong one. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Brilliant. 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 Big up to Mark Douglas. Big up to the Iron newspaper. I do encourage you guys to subscribe to the newspaper. I think he gives very, very balanced a balanced insight into Newcastle United. So, right. So, how committed Saudi Arabia is to Newcastle, according to PIF and the club insiders. It's a great start to the show. Let's see how committed are they, and can they handle the truth? Can we handle the truth? What's going on? Speculation as well that the kingdom is pivoting away from expensive sport investments. Here's what's really going on at St. James's Park. So Mark goes on to say, pretty soon, in a matter of weeks rather than months, Newcastle fans are set to get a visible sign of the Saudi Public Investment Fund's continued commitment to the club. And obviously that's in reference to the transfer window itself. Now, we've been blessed to have Bobby Fairview. I'm going to Bobby Fairview on the show with us here. And you, from those that have been here, haven't been here before, but he's really, really good. His expertise is around accounting, and he's looked at Newcastle's accounting. And actually, since the show, what he says is that at least £450 million has been moved into Newcastle's accounts. Now, we don't all know what it's for, but it's coming up to the transfer window. You know, that's a good indicator that it could be for that. So if that were to happen, speaking of, where our club insiders at, that would be absolutely phenomenal. So Mark goes on to say confirmation of a further tranche of investment by the club's majority owners, earmarked to purchase a site of where a new state-of-the-art training ground will be built near the city airport. That might be some of the money for that, actually. Will land in the near future on companies that iPaper understands, and we think some of that money has already landed, actually. While the effect of leaks and the pace of legal work prevent anyone from giving an absolutely cast iron timeline, the funding has the green light. That's good. So the money's there for the training ground, without swirling about the club's direction and Saudi commitment to invest in the sport itself. Confirmation of the major infrastructure project of the PIF era can not come a minute too soon. And especially where our season is at, then you hear from the global perspective of everything that's going on in the world, wars, famines, conflict all over the world, and obviously PIF is a global investment firm, and they're saying, hey, we have to pivot, we have to change, we have to take money away from here. I think they're trying to sell Live Gold from what I've seen. That's obviously put a nervousness around Newcastle. So Mark goes on to say the training ground, which may not be open, which may not open its doors until close to the 2030 date. Jeez Louise, I'm going to be well old by then. I'm old now. That chief executive, David Hopkinson, has optimistically set Newcastle to be regularly competing for Premier League title. He has set that title. He has set that date that Newcastle will be competing for the major honours by 2030. Will be funded by, and Mark goes on to say, will be funded by a combination of PIF investment and capital raised through the club taking on debt. And we've talked about that, how that debt won't be put on the club itself, but on a subsidiary, like another kind of account. I think I remember Bobby Fairview talking about that as well, which is good, which means that Newcastle itself won't be laden with debt. The last point feels important. While the hope of Newcastle fans and fear of their rivals, he puts it in bracket, was that the club could be viewed as a trophy asset by a fund with deep pockets that was never ever intended to be reality. What did he say? The last point feels important more than the hope of Newcastle fans and fear of rivals that they be viewed as a trophy asset by a fan of deep pockets never intended to be reality. I don't get that. I don't get that. So it goes on to say, and he makes a quote here: PIF is acting like an institutional investor because it is an institutional investor. Interesting, was how one source put it. No private equity fund in the world would write a blank check to fund a stadium or training ground, and PIF is no different. Okay, so we're not just Billy big pockets essentially, which is why Newcastle, unlike teetering Live Golf, does not face the prospect of being cut adrift anytime soon. Okay, so because Newcastle have been handled financially responsible, this is the big reason why they're not looking to cut it off by the sounds of it. So the big question, I'm going to get to the questions and in the chats in a moment as well. Are PIF still committed to Newcastle? Several sources contacted by the I newspaper were unequivocal. Despite the speculation around Liv, there is no change in the long-term plan for Newcastle. So unequivocal is pretty unequivocal, right? It's saying, hey, we're here for the long, so nothing's changed. Okay. Rumors that they are ready in the sale of their stake in the club, which swirled around football circles last week, have been categorically denied by sources who suspect they are partly the work of opportunistic investors or third parties who would be keen to test the water for a possible Newcastle takeover. That's interesting. That is very, very, very interesting. There's other investors trying to see if they can dislodge PIF and take over Newcastle. That sounds like and I hope that sounds like Liverpool and the Isak drama. Like the media posts and the the media. First, they start off with the media war before they actually make the actual proposal. Well, that's interesting. Well, there's other interested parties in Newcastle. Very, very interesting. Okay, so a picture of a solid there. Newcastle's, and at the bottom it says, it's got a picture of Osola that says Newcastle season has not met expectations. And it's got Osola there upset. Who is that against Everton? Somebody there. Or it might be Bournemouth actually. Last week, PIF announced a new strategy which split the fund's investment into 3 pots. The first, Vision 2030, is for domestic projects. The second, financial, is for investments in equity projects and stocks and shares. Newcastle sits in the third pot, strategic. PIF sources have also said that while the investment is relatively small by the fund's standards, it is important because it is so public facing. One source went further, referring to it as a PIF crown jewel. I hope so, because it gives them a presence in the globally respected Premier League. Okay. Sounds all pretty promising. So they're giving us all the motivations as to why they're here. They've already got plans for 2030 itself, training crowns, money's going in. It's also not one of their biggest, like it doesn't take up too much of their money compared to other areas where they put a lot of money in. And also because, like I said, it's very public facing. It gives them a lot of global presence, essentially. So there's a lot of motivation there for PIF to stay where they're at, to stay in Newcastle. Right. So Newcastle's viewed as a good investment. So, sorry. The question is, so Mark Douglas goes on to say, and gives a question is Newcastle viewed as a good investment by Saudi Arabia? Right. Let me get another drink before we get into this. Okay. So quite apart from a steep improvement on the pitch, with the exception of this season. So we've had a steep improvement, and in bold writing, with the exception of the season, because I'm sure Mark already knows what's going to come his way if he says that. It is also viewed by PIF as a successful investment off the field, including the sale price of 305 million. PIF have invested around 800 million in Newcastle so far. And I would go on to say, because people always forget this, that in order to buy Newcastle, they had to pay like the whole piracy thing with, I think, BN Sports from Qatar. So before they could buy Newcastle, they had to pay £1 billion for TV piracy that was going on essentially to Qatar. So for me, I see it as they've invested almost 2 billion, but you know, who's counting? So they've put in a lot of money to it. According to the fund's own internal metric, the valuation of the club has significantly outstripped the investment. So Newcastle are already valued, I think, at 1 billion, I think, right now. One source familiar with football acquisitions believes Newcastle are now worth more than £1 billion based on the price paid for similar clubs. Interesting. Contrast that with Live Golf, which projected to require further hefty injections of cash to compete with established golf tours. And you can see why sources describe the two investments as chalk and cheese. So it sounds like Live Golf is like a really expensive Ferrari that has taken up a lot of money to pay for petrol. Now, Newcastle are more of like a highly efficient Honda by the sounds of it, but it's not taking up too much money. And it's a very well-known Honda. It's a very common Honda. It's known around the world type of Honda. So it makes sense for them to continue to fund it. I'm going to go to the chat soon, but I want to be able to finish this and get you guys' views on what you guys have heard. So it says Newcastle is still growing. The club have this week advertised for a slew of academy recruitment jobs. They have. I don't know if you guys have seen them. A lot of academy jobs are out there across the Balkans, Italy, and Spain. Key new off the field roles in strategy, data, and recruitment are to be confirmed soon. So I think that's really, really important. This level of heavy investment in not only obviously recruitment jobs across the European continent, but also data recruitment are also, it's clearly getting ready for a multi-club type of model, I think, in my view. So I think it's really, really, really important. How much have I got to read more? Okay, yeah, not too much. I'll get back to you guys. Okay, so for many fans, though, there is a sense of drift about Newcastle. Yeah, online fans, I think. PIF have no intention of challenging the financial rules that have hamstrung the club's ambitions, which has caused disquiet. So it's interesting that that's the first thing he says, Mark Douglas, when he says fans feel that there's a drift, and how he responds to that is by saying PIF have no intention of challenging financial rules. Like, the main reason why fans think that there's a drift is because they're not challenging financial rules. I think the main reason, especially currently, is the bad results. I think you improve results, you have less disquiet in my bit. But he goes on to say, on the ground, Eddie Howe's position has been called into question, and he's got that in big, bold writing. In fact, I can click on this article if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that. So now we get to the question itself. I think we're about to get to the question itself. Eddie Howe in or Eddie Howe out. On the ground, Eddie Howe's position has been called into question after a mediocre season began to tailspin, while at least one big sell, quite possibly, and he says it here, Anthony Gordon, with Bayern Munich interested, is necessary. There is frustrations that the issue of St. James's Park. So just to say that. So it's interesting that he's mentioned that. I think there was some news today that Bayern Munich are looking to put 65 million plus add-ons. Newcastle want to start at 75 million. Well, let's see where that goes. But there's a lot of conversation around that. So there is frustration that the issue of St James's Park expansion in big bold letters is not resolved a year on from a decision being supposedly imminent. Although the I the I paper has been told that the intention is a call will have been made by the end of the year. We'll see if it happens by this stage. It's like having a friend who's always saying that that you loan money to, and then just like I'll pay you back, I'll pay you back, and you're like don't you're like whenever like at this stage for me, maybe I shouldn't be too I'm not purposely nonchalant about it, but it's like we're consistently being told it's going to be an expansion, it's going to be a new stadium, it's going to be here, it's going to be there. I think it will happen. Um, I'm just of the mindset when it happens, we'll be there. Now, Mark Douglas goes on to say a high-level visit by senior PIF figures next week then feels symbolically important. Okay, so it's happening next week. When was this article? I mean, it should be today, actually. Let me double check myself. I usually say it at the beginning, don't I? Oh, so it was today. So the article's today, so that means next week. Okay, sometime in May or early thingy bobs. Okay, early early May or late April. So what did I say? Next feels symbolic report. How do PIF view this season and Eddie Howe's future? How do PIF view this season and Eddie Howe's future? You guys let me know in the chat. Please do remember to like, share, and subscribe as well. Let me see something. Let me see something. Here we go. Make sure we're here. All right. So how do PIF view this season and Eddie Howe's future? So next week, Mark goes on to say, next week annual offsite meeting at Matfen Hall in Northumberland is important and comes with the clubs seemingly at a crossroads. The team are 14th, just about, by the way, and set to miss out on their preseason target of European qualifications. And it didn't have to be this way. Honestly, we could be well within Europe. Honestly, it's such a shame. Which will have a significant impact on their summer business. He puts it in big bold writing as well. Frustration is building on the terraces. He puts that in big bold writing as well. So he goes on to say, with Yasser Al Ramayan expected to jet into the northeast to attend, it is being viewed as a chance for the chairman to grill, and he's got that in quote, to grill Howe on the season's failings. The reality will be different. And it's true. I feel like the way some media posts and some people's clickbait, they're coming in. I've seen titles like PIF are heading to Tyneside to confront Eddie Howe. Broski. Like PIF are like a major global investment. It's not like what they're gonna send their figures to jet into just to speak to one man in Eddie Howe. I don't think it's to confront Eddie Howe. Say, I can't believe these results. Like you could do that online, right? It says and I didn't think that would be the case either. But so the reality will be different. Let's see what he says the reality will be. What I'm hoping is, and what I kind of expected is that Eddie Howe is going to get reassurance that PIF are paying a lot of attention to the summer transfer windows. And that this summer transfer window will be different. Okay, so but let's see what they actually say. So the paper understands that Ramayan enjoys a warm relationship with Howe and has regularly enthused about his track record at Newcastle. So he loves Eddie Howe. He loves his track record at Newcastle. So which kind of gives you an idea of, hey, we know that things are bad now, but he's got a good track record. It's been, and it goes on to say, it's been stressed that no one gets a free pass. So we like Eddie Howe. He's very warm. We've got a warm relationship. He's got an impressive track record. And before you think we're going to give him a free pass, we're not giving him a free pass. At St. James's Park, I feel like they're playing to the gallery at this point. At St. James's Park, and there's clearly frustration at the way the Premier League campaign has unfolded. But as it stands, the plan is to continue with Howe next season. I'll repeat that for the folks that are saying, we need clarity, we don't know what's going on, it's going to get toxic. As it stands, sorry, the plan is to continue with Howe next season. Let me know, guys, in the chat how you feel about that. You already know my view. I think it's the right decision. But it doesn't come without expectation and even more pressure on Mr. Howe, for sure. And I think even in how we're going to conduct this transfer window, I can't help but feel that players that he might want to stay, your Jacob Murphys, especially, for instance, might have to leave. Already had Mr. Trippier leaving as well. So he goes on to say, and I'll see what you guys are saying in the chat. He has been part of all the club's preparations for the coming campaign and recruitment planning. He's the center of everything here in terms of going forward to next season, which has stepped up this week. Has been tailored to bringing in players who would operate well in the system and favoured style. It's going to be very interesting in terms of profile of player. We're going to look at some forwards later on in the minute as well. But PIF are, in the words of one source, who has... let me just go back to that actually. He has been tailored to bringing in players who would operate well in his system and favoured style. Okay. Because that wouldn't be Voldemort. I'm just saying, at this moment, that wouldn't be Voldemort. So let's see how we go here. But PIF are, as Mark goes on to say, but PIF are... I thought my screen got off there. But PIF are, in other words, of one source who has worked with them previously. So PIF are, in other words, of one source who has worked with them previously. So it's a third-hand source or a second-hand source, I think. Has worked with them previously, obsessed with the numbers. So, but PIF are, in other words, one source who has worked with them previously, obsessed with the numbers. They will want to be across all the data and information and would expect things to change. So what they're trying to do is assure us that they're on top of it. They're looking at the stats, the goals for, the goals against, the field tilt. They're looking at us and they say we're all over it. We're all over it. But we're paying attention is what they're trying to say. Insiders suggest lessons of last summer's fiasco. Okay, good. Here we go. Insiders suggest lessons of last summer's fiasco of a transfer window have been learnt. And I agree with that because the fact, and I'm going to keep on saying it, the final approval has gone from Saudi to Tyneside. That lets you know they have learned. That's the major thing. Final approval, and for those of you that are just catching up on that, on all transfers, it's gone from Saudi to here on Tyneside, where we'd had deals lined up for your likes of João Pedro, James Trafford. Whether folks believe in it or not, it's up to you. But the fact that why it's even true now is because they've actually had to change operational changes, which is decision making is now here in Tyneside. So no longer are they waiting for final approval on transfers in Saudi. It can come in days and weeks, and by then the deals are gone. It's happening right here in Tyneside. So let's that was a big issue as to what happened. And this is what he goes on to say. So some of Fiasco's transfers have been learned, and work has gone into ensuring there is improvement. The era. Oh, this is interesting. This is very interesting. The next sentence. The era of signings like Anthony Elanga and Yoa Wissa seems to be over. All right. Why I'm laughing is because Anthony Elanga and Yoa Wissa, to me, and let me know in the chat, I'm going to have a lot of things to read in the chat, I hope, represent two different failures in the transfer window. Because Anthony Elanga was a planned signing from Eddie Howe and the recruitment team. We wanted him last year. So it wasn't a panic buy as like Johan Wissa was. He wasn't a fourth or fifth priority like Johan Wissa was, and they were careful to avoid Voltemada, who also was a fourth or fifth priority. He was the priority. So it's interesting that they've mentioned him. And obviously, we talked about him on Tuesday in terms of the very poor and disappointing output he's had this season. So it's interesting that they've mentioned him like by name. Because if he's a planned and by design signings, when they say the era of signing players like Anthony Gon is over, what does that mean? Does that mean so-called Premier League proven players? So they're going to try and find, they're going to try and essentially, they keep on saying this actually, go more abroad to try and get your Anthony Elangas who don't cost so much, and especially from a SCR point of view, when they don't perform, or when they're not turning out to be, they're not giving the output of their wage and their and the transfer put into them, we can easily cover that cost. So that's interesting. And again, and Johan Wissa seems to be over. Now everybody knows in terms of Johan Wissa, more and more now, is and was a panic buyer. But a panic buy caused by the fact that the final approval on transfers was always and was in Saudi. And that was delaying our ability to get these deals over the line. So that represents, so Wissa represents something different to Elanga. Wissa represents an internal operational change where the final decision making is going to be here. You're not going to be hearing, hopefully we're not going to be hearing this summer, endless stories of, we've gone for this striker, he's rejected us. We're going for that striker, he's rejected us. We're going for third striker, he's rejected us. We're going for fourth striker, he's rejected us. And now we're getting fifth and sixth. Because, by the way, we also went for Delap, right? I keep mentioning it, forgetting him. So both Wissa and Elanga represent two different transfer issues that they're representing. One is a strategic, planned, meticulously researched player, but is too expensive and has not turned out as expected, and now we're having to carry him because of, in terms of cost wise, because of his wage and transfers. And the other one, and so therefore we're going to look for alternative, cheaper buyers across Europe, across other continents as well. And Johan Wissa is a panic buy caused by our own operational deficiency. So it's interesting that they've like I said, that's the reason I think those two in bold were outlined. And finally, and the end of the sentence with, the smart money remains on Howe being in charge, but a very different looking outfit come August. Very interesting last sentence there from Mr. Mark Douglas. I'm going to go to the chats in a moment to see another question for you guys, to ask you what you guys think of that. The smart money remains on Howe being in charge, but a very different looking outfit come August. And that is Newcastle, right? We already know there isn't going to be a Trippier. Unlikely to be Fabian Schär. Does that mean Jacob Murphy? Does that mean some of the other players as well, the final contracts? What is this outfit going to look like? It's going to look more and more less Premier League players, I think, and less old players, and a lot more younger. So it's interesting that Mark Douglas had to add his own bit and say the smart money remains on Howe being in charge, because in the same report he's already said PIF want him to be in charge. And if I'm reading behind the lines between that, is that, and there's been rumors of this, is that there is a possibility that Howe could walk away. So whether Howe walks away or not, the next sentence goes to say, but a very different looking outfit come August. So whether Howe chooses to stay and stay with this outfit or not, there will be a very, very different Newcastle on the pitch. So let's see. Let's see what that means, and let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have got to say before we preview the Arsenal game. And if we get an opportunity, we will also do a scouting report, because that actually is quite fitting considering what we've just read from the IF newspaper itself. Okay, so you can't handle the truth. Tony and the Flying Crumpets says, saw a few of your videos, mate. Like your style, pushing back on. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. I really encouraging words there. God bless you for that. He says, pushing back on Tim or Pete over negativity on players. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Tim's cool, man. If you've been Tim's for any of the talk, he's cool. He's very, very he's a very, very balanced guy. But I really appreciate that. Thank you. I see good amount of people viewing the show as well. Hopefully, if you like the show, if you like what you're watching, please do remember to what's the word I'm looking for? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe as well. Thanks, Ches, for that as well. He likes it too. James says, excuse me. James says, hey, mate, Phil, was just talking to, good to see you, James. God bless you. Just talking to a bloke, that's Sunderland supporter, the Sunderland supporter. Yes, 4-0. Well done, but the trees, as I would like to call them, the trees. I wonder what the score is now. Yeah, how old would you be when we're champions? 35, or challenging at least. James says, but PIF knows the necessary need of a new stadium or an extension, with it now being given support by the council for their own project. Yeah, they do. They do. They do. My hope is that they've just been the reason why it's taken long is because they've been meticulous and they're working towards it. That's my hope. Jules, God bless. I don't know if it's your first time. It's my first time seeing you. If it's not your first time here, then apologies, but welcome to the show and God bless you. Jules says, good evening, no, hi, Philip, long time no see. Oh, do I know you, Jules? Sorry. Ches, you just sneaking in. I will just say, keep plugging away. So many fans are seeking salvation of facts, common sense, and balance. Thank you, Jules. I appreciate that. I don't know if I appreciate that. Thank you. Says the second word, so just second, keep up the positivity and fact-based content. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. I'm feeling proper energized. Thank you. Jules says, amongst a massive clickbait, factless, pointless, we're following the masses counts of supporting evidence if they have it. It's difficult out there, honestly, it is. Cherry on top by Anderson. Did Anderson score? God bless him, man. And again, prayers to him and his family as well. James says, Phil, at the moment, I see no reason to get rid of Eddie due to the shortcomings of the Premier League manager situations. Yeah, it's crazy out there. Chelsea, Liam Rosinia, where we've seen the pool load managers about to leave the club. There's a tons that are about to leave their clubs or get sacked as well. I was going to say something about the Liam Rosinia one because I see a lot of the fans saying that's what a serious club does, just sack their manager. But a lot of our fans said, look at Chelsea, I've got standards because they sack their manager when there's bad results. But if you watch and you listen to what Chelsea fans are talking about the state of their club, this isn't a good thing, like necessarily. It's not a good thing. Question, Tony says, is it just me or who wants Spurs to go down? Do you know what? For me, I don't want Spurs to go down. I know a good few friends from there, but also because, I think it's good. Maybe because I do know a lot of people, but because we all know it here on this channel what relegation feels like. So I find it hard. I find it really hard to say, or like be like, we make jokes and make fun. I won't lie to you, but I find it hard to say I want to see this team go down, just because we all on this channel know what it feels like. But maybe I'm getting soft in my old age. 5-0 and the goal from Elliot Anderson. It finished. Goodness gracious. Jules has got to love and leave you. Keep up the good work, Phil. It is needed. Thank you so much, Jules. You spread a lot of encouragement while you were here. God bless you. Adrian says, let's hope the journals are reporting out of. I'm not reporting out of their rear ends. Well, I won't hold my breath, put it that way. Tony and the Flying Crumpet says, depend on if all the summer signings were his, as most have not worked. Depends on if all the summer signings were his. I feel like I'm catching the end of that, Tony. Do send that one again, and or like I feel like maybe it's leaving my conversation. I'm not sure, but let me know if you're asking me a question there. Ches says, you already know my opinion, Philip. I'm happy to give Eddie a chance to turn it around with a proper backing and support in recruitment. Likewise, me too. Connor, God bless you. Connor says, good to see you, Connor, by the way. I didn't recognize you. Got a new picture. Says, question, if Howe stays and wins 2 games. So, sorry, I can see where it's going to, but I hear what you're saying. If Howe stays and wins 2 games in his first 10 games, should he be sacked then? It's a huge risk keeping Howe after this season. I think it's a huge risk also sacking him from PIF's point of view and from my point of view as well. I think, and again, I keep on going back to the Adam Cleary video. With the way the summer recruitment went and the way the season is, there's not many managers who would have done better than Eddie Howe, and how much better is also is debatable. Now, where I do agree, and what I'm saying is, especially after this international break, I was expecting a lot more from our team. We could have been in the Champions League position, right? But we're not. So that's where that is a failure. So I think if what it boils down to me for me, Craig, is sorry, Connor, is can we get a better manager than Eddie Howe who can make the better decisions? I don't even think it's going to come down to how many games necessarily, or it might do, but it's definitely higher expectations because I think a lot of money is going to be invested into the summer recruitment. I think a lot of players that he might want to. What I suspect is this. I suspect that. And what the I newspaper said to me from reading that anyway, Connor, is it's even less about Eddie Howe getting sacked. It's more about, even for me, I'm reading between the lines, is would he walk away? Because I think the changes they're looking to bring into the summer are huge and impactful. I think that's the big. I think he's more likely. There's a chance he's more likely to walk away than he is to get sacked. But in terms of the pressure for next season, yeah, it's gonna be very, very high, Connor. Very, very high. James says, and the fact that he says they're looking at another striker over in Denmark. Oh, I think that's not for me, is it? I don't think it is. Chess says, I think it was a bigger and failed risk overloading Eddie with so much responsibility. Yeah, with no CEO and DOF, he's been hugely successful transfers and results in every other season. Agreed. And if Paul Mitchell did his job and stayed at least a week and got Trafford and João Pedro over the line, we would have been in a different. We would be in a whole different situation. Honestly, we do forget that. Ches. Connor says, with the Voltamada. Oh wow, here we go. Okay, with Voltamada, it's strange that fans sing for Voltamada's last match, and then Howe throws him under the bus in the presser to justify him not playing him. Do you know what? I only got quotes from it, Connor. So I don't know if the quotes that I've seen is him essentially saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that Osola continues to play because he's scoring goals essentially. So it's hard to throw Voltemada in there when the guy that you've got there playing is playing well. So, but I don't know if he said anything else. Do let me know, Connor. Maybe he said something where he does throw him under the bus. Connor says also Howe lies. Last week he said Wissa trained the best he has at the club since joining them today. Say Wissa not performing in training. Can you answer me this, Connor? Can you have two at the same time? Which is a player can train the best we have seen him train, but is also maybe not performing in comparison to other players, right? So, say for instance, someone goes to the gym, hasn't been in the gym for a while. The times he's been going to the gym, he's not paid attention, not done the right things. For a week he concentrates and does his thing, which is good for him, like a personal best. But when you compare him to the other guys who've been focused consistently working in the gym and get the better results, compared to them, he's not performing. Maybe it's a bit of that. So that's how I take it. I just don't. So put it this way: if Wissa and Voltemada are trainer, got their numbers up, are slotting the goal, I just don't see Eddie Howe not playing them. But if you look at Voltemada's stats, Wissa's stats, it's been really, really, really underwhelming in my opinion. Oh, Tony the Crumpet says, I only want them to go down as that big six wouldn't look so fair play. Okay, so I'll read up to another couple minutes and then we'll get into the Arsenal preview. Big up to my man Raymond. Good to see you. It says hi to Philip. Good to see you, sir. God bless you. How are you, Arsenal versus Newcastle? We're going to get into it in a moment. It win if Arsenal, Eddie Howe, same tactics. It won't win same tactics, same methods, same formation. Eddie Howe sat from Newcastle, now from Ray. I think it'd be different tactics. It usually is when you go to April to the Emirates. Sacked. Raymond says hi to Philip. Are you sure the owners of Newcastle United should sack Eddie? We just read an article where they're not going to do that. They're backing him, and they're looking to have him for next season. Now, after this season, Xabi Alonso appointed as the manager of Newcastle. It's not going to happen. It's going to be Eddie Howe. It's going to be Eddie Howe, my friend. Tony and the Flying Crumpets. I'm just going to say Tony. You asked if you are happy for Howard to stay. My response is only if the panic signings last summer was not on him only. Big waste of money. They were only a panic signing because we didn't have we got rejected by at least 4 priority signings before we got the panic signings. And that's something that Sporting Director should have dealt with. That's why I think he's getting a lot of slack, Eddie. Connor says, that's speculation, Philip. Another manager couldn't do the job. Remind me, is that to do with this summer? I think another manager could. That's why I'm in agreement with Adam Cleary. So I think another manager could do a better job of this season than Eddie Howe has. But that manager is you're looking at the elite of the elite. And can we get those managers right now? I doubt it, unfortunately. James says, we're looking at another striker called, I saw that Franculo de Jure scored 21 goals this season. He's a real talent, European experience, and also a wonder kid. I have to look into him. I saw a few clips. And this is just, I'll be real, like it's where is he? In Denmark playing? I have to look into him because the level of competition can't be that high in Denmark. So I kind of take it with a pinch of salt, but we'll have to look into him. In Guinea-Bissau, he said, when I've been watching for years. I've been watching it for a while. Okay, fair play to you, James. You can let me know you can let us know more about him. Connor says Volta minus 15 GA this season in all comps. He does. He also has some really, really other poor stats. I saw recently. Where is it? He's also lost the most. He also lost the most duels. He's also lost the most possession. He presses the least amongst our centre forwards. He has the least amount of touches inside and outside the box. Entries for a centre forward in general. He has the least amount of shots per game. He runs an average of 6K covered per game when you need about 10 or 11. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. That's the only problem for him. Tony says, I get we missed our main targets, but it became scattershot by the end. Yeah, but it wouldn't have been scattershot. What I'm saying is that it would have been scattershot if we had our sporting director doing his job. Do you know what I mean? So it's hard to kind of go at Eddie from that perspective. Raymond says, hi to Philip, how are you? Franquilo de Jeu should sign for Newcastle United. Now he's a striker for Newcastle. Now, a lot of people are rating him, so I'll have to look into him. I'll have to look at him. All right, so a couple more, and we'll get into the Arsenal game. Connor says, if we lose at home to Brighton with PIF in stands and the stadium turns toxic, would that persuade them to pull the trigger? It's a good question. I don't think it will because they're very strategic about how they go on. I think they know how the season is going. I think they know, and the players know, a lot of them, they won't be here. Hopefully, it won't come down to that. Ches says, genuine observation, correct me if I'm wrong. When people say that Eddie sticks to the tactics or that he doesn't have a plan B, I often find that they couldn't describe his plan A when asked. Gordon has said before that it took him 6 months to understand Eddie's tactics because he has 7 different tactics that every player has to switch to at the drop of a hat. Yeah, so all the players have a very different perspective on it. Lewis Hall, Livramento, they're all like that. There's a lot of information to take on board. Literally, all of them are saying that. Everybody else is saying, nah, it's the same thing. I think it's from the players in terms of execution, but absolutely, I think that's what they're aiming at. So, speaking of, let's get into it. And guys, if you want to keep the conversation on what do you call it, on Arsenal and not Arsenal, excuse me, on PIF and Eddie, please do continue to send your chats. We are going to move on to our game with Arsenal. I'm going to have a quick overview in terms of their game. Excuse me, our game with them. Let me find them, and then we'll have a look at where we are at with them. Where are we? Here we go. Yeah, this tab instead. Can you guys see that? Yes, you can. And as always, folks, please do remember to like, share, and subscribe. Where are you? Here we go. All right, so let's zoom in a little bit. I had to clear my ears. All right, so FOTMob, Newcastle, Arsenal head to head. Let me just see where we're at first. Let's see our head to head for the last. Wow. What's interesting? Let me know where you're at, folks. Because I just came off a show with big up Egal from Egal Talks Football or Talks Arsenal, Talks Football channel as well, and I felt that. And by the way, send in your score predictions, send in your lineups as well. I felt that from an Arsenal perspective, when it comes to form, when it comes to players on paper and everything else, It's a home game for Arsenal. I think they're overwhelming favourites. They're, even though they've had a tricky last few games, our games have been trickier still. So I think they're in better form than us. So I've got them as very heavy favourites. But I think it's going to be a mental issue for them if they don't get it across the line. Obviously, they're chasing the league, they're chasing the Premier League. City have put pressure on them. They're second Arsenal now for the first time since October. Um, their whole thing now is to try and get back on top. Can they do it? Their forward line hasn't been its best. The team is looking tired. All these other things. So it's a mental thing for them as well. That's the main thing for them if they don't get it over the line, because we're not in good form at all. And you can see it, obviously, the 5:30 game now, the last, 34 games, something like that. Arsenal have won 24 of the last games. Both teams have drawn 3, and Newcastle have lost have lost 7. If you look at, I don't think we beat them in the Premier League for a while. Obviously, last year we beat them in the League Cups, but overall this year already we've lost 2-1 to them. Last year we lost 3-2 in the. Oh, that's friendly. Why am I looking at 3-2 friendly? 1-0 at Arsenal last time. Last time, then we had the 2 EFL Cups we won. We also beat them in the league actually as well last year. I forgot we had a really good time against them last year actually. Apart from the last Emirates game, which was 1-0 to them, and then we beat them 1-0 at home. But before that, it was 4-1 to them, 1-0 to us, 2-0 to them, then a draw, 2. It's been a lot closer than I thought actually. In the recent years, since the takeover, it's been a lot closer. Obviously, the takeover took around this period, so that's changed a little bit. So since the takeover, it's been a lot closer, but they're certainly coming into some really good form. Obviously, they're second in the league, as you can see. Wow, absolutely dead center with Man City. On goal difference, they're both on plus 37 points, 70. So they both got the same goal difference. They both got the same points. Man City obviously scored 3 more goals, and Arsenal conceded 3 less goals. Both have lost 5 games. Both have drawn 7 games. Both have won 21 games. That's razor thin. That is razor thin close. Now, not so razor thin close. Newcastle, we're in 14th currently with 42 points, minus 3 goal difference. Scored 46 goals, conceded 49. Lost 15 games this season. Drawn 6, won 12. If we were to win, it would take us into 12th. So not much of a climb, but it's still better than nothing. The crazy thing is that we're still, I say still, it's not that crazy actually. We're 7 points behind a European position in Bournemouth. There's too many teams between us and Bournemouth. I don't think we're getting Europe. Clearly, we're not getting Europe this season. But we're not in good form. The Bournemouth game was scary in some parts. We've talked about it before. How are you guys feeling about it? What do you think is going to happen? Let me set up the tactics board, because it's going to be so interesting. It's because where both teams are at is it really is going to be a mental game from a mental perspective for Arsenal. Us two, I think we're going to learn and we're going to see where we're at. Just in time, my man Wobojog is here, so I'll get to ask some questions as well from Wobojog. Tony says, so from you saying it was not solely on Howe, fair enough. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think it was solely on Howe. Absolutely, Tony. Raymond says, "Hi to Philip Piaio should appoint Xabi Alonso as the manager of Newcastle United now from Ray. So you want the action to be taken now." He's a good manager. He's a good manager. I think he's looking for a higher profile club. He's a good manager from what he's achieved so far. My man Wobodruk, how you doing? God bless you, sir. Says, "Hey Phil, please, no headache tomorrow." Yeah, we've got a league to win here. Thanks, buddy, and my Toon buddies. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I think the only headaches that have been caused by Arsenal themselves, by the sounds of it. Yeah, that was a friendly. That was a friendly. Kaz says, God bless you, Kaz. Voldemort is good enough, but Eddie's 100 miles an hour football doesn't suit a technical striker like Voldemort. I think, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because I think that's what the transfer window was such a failure because we didn't get the players and the profiles that we wanted, essentially. We didn't. And it's interesting. I know if you've been following Kaz, some of the transfer talk we've been having, a lot of the players that we are looking at more and more are more technical players who could give us a little bit more possession, who are a little bit more press resistant, who can disrupt lines not only with their ball carrying, but through their passing as well, can dictate the tempo. Something that we really, really, really struggle to do is dictate the tempo. And that style suits Voldemort. But that's this transfer window coming up rather than what should have happened last time round. So it's a mix and match. It's a mix and match. Raymond says, "Hi, Toon. Owners of Newcastle United should have a meeting this week. They are. It's happening next week. Yeah, to sack. They're not. It's not to sack Eddie. It's to sack Eddie Howe from Newcastle and Xabi Alonso. Ray, I think you missed the first part of the show where PIF were adamant that Eddie Howe is their man. So you're going to be disappointed there. Let me put this board up, and then we'll start talking. Wilbur says Arsenal 3-1 if Havertz starts. If Havertz starts, that's interesting. 1-0 Arsenal scam jobs if 14 does. Oh, Jokeris, we might actually draw or dare I say lose, but I need the hope right now. Do you really feel like that, Wilbur? You started off so strongly, 3-1 to Arsenal, then you went down to like we might draw or lose. Jeez, that was you felt you folded like a deck chair real quick. Thanks for sending your starting lineup, Connor. It says I'm predicting this team for Arsenal: Ramsdale, Hall, Burn, and Shaw. Okay, so you got Botman on the bench. Trips, yeah. Bruno, Tonali, Ramsey. Yeah, I like that midfield. Barnes, Elanga, and Osola. Burn on for height or set piece. Actually, a good call. Actually, it's a very very good call on Burn. Oh, it's not the team that you want. Yeah. Excuse me. Cass says, Philip, you say that Eddie Howe is elite manager. Yes, I do. Now explain to me why. He moans whenever he's got 2 games a week. Explain to us how those elite guys can't see that our possession shape is pants. I think every manager moans about it. I don't think it's just Eddie Howe. Pep Guardiola moans about it. Jurgen Klopp moans about it. I don't think it's an Eddie thing. Out of possession, where is it? Where are you? Explain to us why elite guys can't see that it has not been good out of possession. I think part of the reason why out of possession, and people aren't going to like it, especially if they support Voldemort, is because of Voldemort. A little bit because of Voldemort. Well, we had to adjust our play a little bit in different periods. We would pass the ball centrally to get into his feet, to hopefully hoping that he'll hold it up, but he doesn't. And then teams will turn over. And because our wingers have narrowed in, there's now space on our flanks. The other part about on transition when we kind of went back to basics, not without Voldemort, more of a solo facing. A lot of it is the fact that we cannot hold the ball up in the midfield areas and especially in the forward line areas. So the ball just keeps on going back time after time after time after time, and we just end up folding and breaking. And I think that's the main thing: is this our inability to hold onto the ball long enough. Chess says, I fear it's going to be a game of mental strength and both teams are struggling. It's Arkham United versus one flew over the Cuckoo's Nest FC. And you know what? I should have had that as my thumbnail title, Chess. That's a really good analogy. Win the ball, win the second ball. I like that title. God bless you. Says, we are going down. Why does no one see this? If Tottenham start winning, we are messed up. The big caveat to that is if Tottenham start winning, and they have to win a lot. And there's a lot of teams between us and Tottenham at this moment in time. But I understand where you're coming from. It's not impossible. You're right. It's not impossible. We have to start winning. It's not impossible. So it says, Kaz says, no elite manager would have lost 16 out of 33 league games. True. That is true. No elite manager would. But also no elite manager would have the depth of squad or the lack of depth of squad that Eddie Howe has. And that's the problem. That's the big problem. We had a botched job over summer. Okay, Raymond says, hi, Toon Philip. The PIF owners, Ramayan and the Mother Stavely, should have meeting this week. They're not going to sack him, Raymond. You missed the first part of the show. They're looking to back him. I'm sorry, Ray. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. They're looking to back him. Kaz says, oh, sorry, I missed that. Says, Kaz says, I like your analysis, Philip. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. God bless you. Says, but you are very blinded by Eddie Howe, in my honest opinion. Fair? I could be. That's why I got you guys to keep me honest. This squad should not be lower than 6th. I agree. I don't know if you missed the part where I always say that despite all the mitigating circumstances, I think the one that gets me the most is that 25 points from leading positions. Like, are you telling me we couldn't get even a third of that? 7 points, 8 points from those 25? That would put us in. Where would 8 points put us in right now? Come on. Where are you? Fot mob. Where would 7 points put us right now? Table. 8 points. Let's say 8 points. 50. We'll be 6th. Yes. You're right. I agree. Absolutely. Tony says, can't see past the 3-14-1 loss for us. I don't know what scoreline that is. Let me read Robojog and we'll get into it. I'm interested to see what he thinks. Says, let's see how positive you remain with a stinker that has no football basics like touch, pass, weight, ball control, dribbling. Guy sacrificed all his attributes to have a god level ball striking. LOL. I've missed that part, Warbojog. I feel like I've missed something. Maybe that's not even for me. I don't even think that's for me, right? Ray, you really want Xabi Alonso? I'm sorry. It's not happening. We read Ches and we'll get into it. I think people confuse mitigating factors for excuses. Yeah. You can explain why we are where we are by including every factor that's challenged us. Eddie has admitted that the VL that the buck stops with him. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. All right, let's get into it. And I'm really keen to hear Arsenal fans, or Joggers here, but of our own fans as well, what you guys' thoughts are in terms of what is likely to play out in this game. Let me make sure you guys can see that. Yeah, you can see that. I don't know if I got the starting lineup right. Now, Warbojog already says he wants Havertz to start, and Havertz seems to be the man for when they start. It's not clear if Mr. Saka is fit or not. I was just on the channel of Egal, and he thinks Mr. Bukayo Saka will be on the bench. He's just coming back from injury. So we'll see. I've got, it wouldn't be Mosquera, would it? It would be, it should be Ben White at right back. and Rayo in defense, Hincapié on the left. Let me know Wobojog and others. Okay, so Calafiori and Sakura are fit, but are they fit to start? Do let me know. Are they fit to start? Now, I remember from previous times, and I actually still got the. I've still got some of the. Um, if I press this, it's going to give me different things though. I think what's going to be important from this. Do you know what? From our point of view, I've got obviously Barnes, Osola, Ilanga in our front three, and I've got Miley, Ramsey here. I think it's going to be changed. We think it's going to be changed, don't we? I suspect that I wonder if Eddie Howe is tempted to change Ramsdale for Pope, because Ramsdale did not have the greatest game against Bournemouth, in my opinion. And I wonder if it's time for Pope to come back in, especially from a defensive point of view. And I think Eddie Howe needs more and more voices on the pitch. I think Ramsdale has a voice, but I think Pope provides something in terms of showing. And we know how many errors we've had this from Mr. Pope so far this season. But there are advantages to him. Now, Gordon remains off, so he's not playing. A lot of suspicions about him not playing, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's been tarred by a. I'm not going to go that far because you just don't know, do you? I don't know. I'm not going to accuse other people who don't think he's playing because he's down tools and say you don't know, and then say do the same thing. I'm going to go by his track record and say that he's injured. He's fully injured. Now, guys, I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. Bruno Guimaraes is back, right? So Bruno Guimaraes is back. There's a couple things I'm thinking, right? Do Newcastle go 5-3-2 for this game? Do we just sit up in a low block, right? And essentially, what happens is, I think we take off one of our front two or three, probably Elanga. So I'm kind of working it out as I'm going along. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I've got so I've taken off the right back and the front and the who was it? Livramento. Livramento's injured anyway. So Hall, Botman, Chow, right? And as mentioned, and I forgot who mentioned it, Burn is typically chosen for these games because of his height, because we want to be able to defend those areas. Now, Botman and Burn typically play. Who takes up center position? Let's have Botman here, Burn here. I wonder. You guys have chosen Trippier, and he seems like a natural leader to go in there and slot in here. But I wonder if Eddie Howe is tempted to have Miley, as he had previously at right back, with Tonali, Bruno, and Ramsey in midfield, with Osola and Barnes up top. I know Miley's a midfielder. he's one of our best midfielders, right? What's the advantage of having Miley? There's a couple. He's younger and he's got the athleticism and he's got the ability a little bit more to hit up that pitch himself. But also, he's a little bit better at getting into this inverting and getting into this area of the field instead. So what you'd have is him inverting and maybe the likes of Bruno. So you've got it like this. You've got the likes of Bruno and Osola and Barnes and Tonali going up top instead in these type of areas. Maybe Tonali like this, Bruno, Barnes like this. And what Miley gives is the option of and his ability to also protect the back line and to protect Botman and Burn. And also with Miley and or Ramsey here, you got the option of Ramsey getting into these positions here. So let me have it here. You got these little gaps, hopefully, that can form, where you give the option to either Tonali or Ramsey to fill these places with Miley protecting the back line and Chow and Hall on the flanks like this. So we're able to protect our flanks a little bit better. And if you guys remember, especially in our home games, some of our better, the 1-0ers, we were sitting in that 5-3-2 position. We do find ways to stifle Arsenal in these type of areas. The other thing as well is, speaking about variety, because we're going to need to have width as well, right? You still can have a situation where you can have Hall going out wide, with maybe Ramsey and Miley staying in behind and connecting with Barnes and Usola and Bruno and others, for instance. Hopefully Usola keeps the line here. And forcing Arsenal to go out wide and to meet him and to and connect rather than having them compact, hopefully creating these spaces in the middle for the likes of Ramsey maybe and Barnes to get Ramsey and or Barnes to get into, however they want to get into it in these type of areas, in these type of spaces, right? And we know how good Hall is in tight spaces as well, whilst at the same time being fairly protected in terms of on the flanks. I know Burn isn't burnt for speed, if you can take it, but even on the transition, what's the football? Here it is. So even if we get hit on the transition here, Havertz hasn't got the greatest of pace. Eze can be handled. I think the main key thing here maybe is Madueke, right? And say if we even do get hit on the transition, it's essentially trying to keep Madueke here. Oh, here we go. In these type of areas, away from the away from getting the center line, which Burn is typically quite good at. And or Miley or Ramsey can protect in these type of areas as well. That's the advantage of having someone with that level of flexibility. Usually it might even be Ramsey in these type of situations. So that way you can control. I think having a backline of 3 keeps us secure in kind of doing that. The disadvantage of it, though, is does it send out the wrong message to the players, which is we are we're not looking to win the game. We're being very, very defensive. Those kind of areas, those are the type of concerns that we have. Now, we all know that, or hopefully we know that Arsenal are going to have the majority of possession in this game. So how is that going to look? So before we actually get into that, I'm also going to see what you guys are saying in the chats, because I know you guys got some good ideas. Havertz, Rice, Madueke, Erdegaard is going to be dictating the flow if he starts the game. Gets a lot of stick from Arsenal fans. I wonder what Wilbur and other Arsenal fans think, but I always get the sense that he gets a lot of stick from Arsenal fans. You have a really strong back 3 typically. You press up really high, or even back 2 with Gabriel and Saliba. White joining in here, Madueke going on the inside, and or Rice, for instance. Depends how you want to do it. So let's have it as here. Havertz would be trying to pin defenders back. Eze will try to get into the center as well, pick up pockets here. Zubamendi protecting the back line where he can. Rice joining in with Erdegaard as well. So we'll be defending. But let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Sinus is kicking in. Please do, guys, give me if you haven't already, please do what's the word I'm thinking of? Like, share, and subscribe, folks. Like, share, and subscribe. Let me see what you guys are saying about the game. Connor says that's too clever for how. Where is it? Gotta look. Uh, Connor says, Philip, you're wasting your time as Howe will do none of this. He will play a rigid 4-3-3 and a half counter. But remember, I don't know if you remember, Connor, um, especially last year, whenever I went to the Emirates. In fact, at the Emirates and at St. James's Park, in the Premier League games, we played the 5-3-2. Especially the Premier League game at St. James's Park was a 5-3-2 or 5-4-1. And remember, in the League Cup at the Emirates, we did a 5-5-0. We did a haram ball, as they say. They remember, Arsenal fans were vexed. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. Wobojok says, excuse me, Arsenal fans don't deserve good things. That's what I'm starting to believe. Erdegaard is the system. I have this feeling as well, like the stick he gets on content by content creators. I'm like, jeez. They're like, yeah, we should sell him. I'm like, really? I'll take him, please. I genuinely don't know how my base speaks about him. Granted, he can have a dip in form like any player. I agree. I absolutely agree. All right, so some of you are saying this is too clever for Howe. I'm getting this from Howe. So I'm getting this from Howe. Now, this is the mentality thing we're talking about, right? How desperate are Arsenal to win this game? I imagine they're very desperate. I imagine they're very, very, very desperate. I hope they are. They're trying to win the league, right? So I imagine a lot of space is being built up in these type of areas here. What's going to be interesting? They're going to do a couple of things here, Arsenal, and where they've had a little bit of issues, really, where their problem is in terms of their front line and where we can expose them. It'd have been great to have Anthony Gordon available for this game, by the way, but annoyingly we don't. What you're going to have a lot is Ben White joining in and providing width on this side, which is really, really important for how Arsenal play. And you're going to have Madueke slotting into these kind of half spaces as well. He'll be on the outside as well, but he'll have the option. What Ben White gives him is the option of either going out wide and tucking in like this and going on the inside. And so Barnes is going to have a lot of defensive responsibilities, which sometimes he's good at, sometimes not so good at. So Burn is going to be shouting at Barnes a lot in these areas. In these half spaces, it's going to be very, very crucial for them. The problem that Arsenal have sometimes is that they don't move the ball quick enough. So even if it goes out to Ben White here, you're going to find himself in a situation of 2 versus 1. Even if Madueke joins in, it's a 2 versus 3. You have to pass the ball again across. This is where they always get people get annoyed with them having to pass sideways and backwards again as well. That's going to be an issue for them. So they're going to have to try and move the ball. Arsenal's key thing is going to try and move the ball as quickly as possible to the likes of Madueke and get him into these 1v1 situations of Hall. Because if they watched Ryan versus Hall in the last game, they would have been licking their lips because Hall got substituted at half time for his display, which apart from the Ryan situation, which obviously impacted the game seriously, I didn't see the big I'm not going to say issue, but I didn't think Hall would. Maybe Howe wanted to prevent that from happening again. But I thought substituting him was maybe a little bit harsh. So we'll see. So the main thing Arsenal will try and do is try and get Hall in these 1-1 situations because they see what Ryan can do, which is cutting on this end, and then you have the likes of Havertz, Eze, Erdegaard trying to hit there for the cutback. So that's where it's going to be important that the likes of Burn covering the front post here, Barnes being there to support, making sure that Hall is in a position where at least he can, even if he gets beat on this side, that we're here and in positions where we can cut out the passes or be available to block any kind of shots as well. That's going to be important for us. How quickly Arsenal move the ball in these areas is going to be very, very important. The other crucial part for us is what we do when we're in possession, because, and this has been really, really bad from us, right? Because how many times do I sit here and say, hey, we've got these areas to attack when we get the ball back, right? And what unfortunately happens is that we don't do enough with it. The ball, our defenders, our strikers either haven't been good enough in holding the ball up and find themselves losing the ball and giving it back to the opposition, and or making the wrong decisions, bad passes, giving it away when they attack and leaving us exposed. For the turnovers and areas like that. That's been really bad. That's really been really poor and really bad from us. And that's where the likes of Bruno Gomes is going to be very, very, very important. Very, very, very important. What he does on the ball is going to encourage, in terms of his his quality on the ball, his pass resistance is going to be very, very important for us in terms of how he handles the ball. So he's not going to just be hoofing it. We know that he doesn't just do that, but he's going to be in positions where he will also try to carry the ball. So he gives the likes of Osola, hopefully through the middle. Where's Barnes? Where's Barnes? Here we go. Barnes out wide here, looking to capitalize, maybe Tonali and others, trying to carry the ball with him for as long as possible before he can release it and hopefully try and hit Arsenal on the transitions in whatever way possible here in these type of areas. But that's going to be crucial in terms of how we play out in our defensive areas. The other area is going to be very, very important is if Eze plays, he's really phenomenal on the outside of this box here. And his ability to either do late runs and crashings into the box. Let me bring this back a little bit. Here we go. His late runs here are really, really deadly and getting into these spaces as well, either crashing into the box and tapping the ball in, or on the outside. He was really unlucky against Man City. He was outside the box here and he got a shot away as well. So us not allowing ourselves to go too deep into our own half. And that's what the mentality for both teams is gonna shine through, or has to shine through. If we defend too deeply, if we're too back, we allow ourselves to get caught on the outside by the likes of Rice and Eze, who are phenomenal, who are really good on the outside of the box, especially Eze. So that's going to be crucial for us to be able to mark, to be able to cut those out, to be aggressive in our blocking. There's no use in having players, 5 defenders, 6 defenders, however many defenders, and we're not blocking, and we're not blocking, we're not being aggressive in our box. I think it's going to be attack versus counter-attack type of game for us, but we can't. I don't know if we can improve this. I hope we do with Bruno and the likes. But we can't let Arsenal just overwhelm us continuously. We have to have a threat. And that's where Osola is going to be very, very important. His ability to hold up the ball, to know what to do with the ball, and as he waits for support and others to come into play. So, obviously, the obvious other thing is also corners. Hence why we've got Botman. Hence why I've got Botman, Burn, and Manik Chow, our big centre halves against their big centre halves, as well as Miley as well with his height and his aerial ability, or Solar as well with his aerial ability. All there able to support. It's a shame we don't have Anthony Gordon. I think Anthony Gordon would have been superb for this game. Really, really important for this game. But, well, hey, it is what it is. So let me see what you guys said in the chat. I'm going to give my prediction at the end. Oh, losing my voice. Let's see what you guys are saying. All right, so Connor says, "How does none of you?" I promise you, Connor, I'm not like I'm not making this up. We've played in the backlines before. Warburg says social media killed the game. Imagine Sunderland fans booing the team today. Were they booing the team today? Or Arsenal fans booing the team when we were still first? Fans have serious brainworms, no appreciation for progress or context. I agree. I agree. Kaz says Eddie Howe will do his usual 4-5-1 flat lines, and when we win the ball, we only try to overload the wings and then cross it. Boring and predictable football. Fair play. Do you think we have the quality of player, Kaz? I'll ask you this um to attack more central of those areas. Now, I would agree though that Ramsey, for instance, is really, really good at receiving. In fact, I think he used to have really high stats for this as well. At receiving the ball. Where is it? Here we go. Where's Ramsey? Ramsey. Here we go. Ramsey, really, really good at receiving the ball in these half spaces, right? Solo's not bad, but he's very, very rough um, in these type of areas, right? In terms of like his one-touch passing, his kind of natural need to want to wrestle, essentially. I think that's going to be an issue in itself. But the main person is probably Ramsey and or Bruno. So he can go through these areas in the lines as well. And that's actually how he scored against who do you call it? Bournemouth. He was right down through their middle. So it's not impossible. But I don't think we're going to be able to do it in regularity against Arsenal. Uh, Robojog says we move the ball fast. Actually, it's the players that don't move as much. Okay, that makes sense. That's why we feel slow or static sometimes. We used to do a lot of position rotation previously, but not as much this season. Really? Okay, I think that's what it's going to take for you to break us down in this game. But I think you already know that. Ian McKenna says Eddie seems a thoroughly decent chap, almost to a fault. I find it hard to believe he's the sort of underhand schemer. I missed something here. I missed some. I think you guys are debating something. Chet Wobberjog says we haven't scored a corner in ages. You got nothing to worry about. I was going to say something, but I don't want to curse us. Um, do you think J7 will be missed for this game? Yes. If it's for this game, yes, because I mentioned, where is it? I think I mentioned the fact that Barnes is. Let me see if I can fast forward this a bit. It's going to be different players though. But I want to make a point. It's not Saka. Saka's not going to be playing. But Barnes is. He does his bit, but it's these areas that he's not the best at, and this kind of being aware of the space behind him. And J7 is really, really good at that. But if what Robojog is saying that Arsenal aren't rotating, and they're quite static, then it shouldn't be it shouldn't be such a problem. Um, mm, Connor says, I guess the players don't listen to you as well as how then. um, where is it? Let me see. You guys any more in the game? Got Joe Linton in the house. Big up Joe Linton. He says, apparently Newcastle were training with a formation using Volt and Whistle together recently. That is interesting if that's the case. That is super, super interesting because the only thing I can think of is Osola and Barnes go on the bench, if that's the case. And Wissa And it could make sense, actually, if we're going to do a 5-3-2. It could make sense. My only thing is that Voldemort doesn't. I know people like Voldemort in the 10, but he's not been working hard enough. Doing 6K distance running. On paper, this should work better, but in reality, it doesn't. So what you want is if they are working out like this, obviously you got Wissa who can make the runs, right? Where is it? Voltamada. Is it Voltamada? Voltamada and Wissa. We're not going to be able to hit on the transition as much, apart from Wissa maybe. If the idea is for Voltamada to hold the ball, possibly, but Voltamada is not very good at holding the ball. That's my only concern. I'm trying to find a way where that would work. Unless Wissa drops in and Volta stays up, but Voltamada is not strong for Saliba. Yeah, I think why I hesitate. I wouldn't. I just don't see how it would work with how they're performing, and Arsenal are just they're the extreme version of what those type what Voltamada can't handle: physicality, one-on-one dueling. Like I'll be surprised if he gives up Osola to do that, unless he plays Osola somewhere, maybe on the right, for instance. Um, All right, so let me give my predictions, guys. Send in your predictions. A lot of comments here, fantastic as always, and I'm sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing as well. Right, would it work? Would it work with? I'm still thinking about it. Would it work with Whisper and the rest of it? Okay, I gave a score prediction on Egas channel as well, which was 1-1. Should I stick with it? Oh. Yes, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go for a 1-1 Newcastle versus Arsenal. Let me know your score predictions. Let me know what your score predictions. We've got Connor saying 3-1 Arsenal. Monkey says you have Voldemort up front there. Eddie will probably put him in goal. Connor says Voldemort and Whistle are training as part of the bench. James says 4-0 to Newcastle. I won't use you do this, but I feel like we may need it. 4-0 to Newcastle. Did you say 4-0 to Newcastle, James? Confirm that for me if you can. Robojog's gone. If that happens, that's 70% of this. That's 70% title for for City. If that happens, that'd be incredible. Cass says 2-0 Arsenal. I think we will miss Joe Linton in a game like this. Yeah, Joe Linton and Gordon would have been fantastic for a game like this. Honestly, Joe Linton and what do you call it? And Gordon would have been phenomenal for a game like this. Got more score predictions being sent. Monkey says I can't see Arsenal bottling it 2-1 against Newcastle. Just yeah, I'm ramping it up. It's also to no Wilbur jog. Oh, okay. They can suffocate teams at the Emirates. We will also miss Shaw's ability to break lines. Yeah, we're missing a few players there. I think it's just going to come down to mentality for Arsenal. If the game wears on, and there's no goals scored or anything, or heaven forbid that we score, is going to be troublesome for them. All right, so we've given our score predictions. Please do continue sending your score predictions as well. I want to start talking scouting. Excuse me. Front line. Forwards. Now, I've got a lot more stuff, but because of time, which is okay, because of time, but it will leave me with a question at the end. I can't get through all of it, which is typical. It would proper turn into a 4-hour show if I did all of it. But that's good because it leaves me with a little bit more. But the question it left me with, obviously, we looked at the previous. Let me see if I can see on this actually. We looked at the previous slides where. Is it here? We talked about how the output of our front line has not been good this season. And there has to be a lot of changes that are to be made in terms of profile of player. And room has to be made, and sacrifices and losses will have to be made. I do think we're really pushing to sell Wissa. I see transfer fees like 15 to 20 million, which won't surprise me. Could be 30, 35 million loss, but it helps in terms of SCR. Possibly even Voltamada might go. It's interesting in the article of the I newspaper, they in bold, Mark Douglas said no more Anthony Elanga and Wissa type of signings. If they sell Elanga, that's something. It will be losses all over the place. We focused on the previous show on the left wing position, right? And we said, look, it looks like Anthony Gordon's going to go. The left wing position has been our strongest position from both Barnes and from Gordon. We know that I think already Gordon's had a 20-plus GA season. Barnes has something close to that as well. Although most of their goals have been in either Champions League and or cup competitions, and they've had like 5 or 6 goals in the Premier League, it's still about more than the right wingers produced between Jacob Murphy and Anthony Elanga, who've been really, really low. It's also a lot higher than our forwards at the moment, although Osola's got 6 goals now. Voltamada's got like 12, I think. But it's like mid to lower tier stuff. Wiss obviously got like 2 or 3 goals somewhere. 1 goal in the Premier League, I think. So lazy been 5 hours. If you're here, I'll do it for 5 hours. And so there's a big issue in terms of the profile of player, outputs of our players, and being able to sell and move players on as well. So this week, but the left wing position has been a lot stronger. But we are going to miss the fact that obviously Gordon's going to get sold. However people feel about him or not, his output for us has been very, very, very good. So we had to replace that output, and we came up with a number of solutions for that. Ibrahim Mbaye, 18 years old, and Alfonso Moreira, young up-and-coming talent. This week's show, we're going to focus on centre forwards. I'll tell you from the beginning is that this journey with centre forwards, I don't have enough time to show it, but it's probably been the most intriguing and the most like telling in terms of like just how I'm going to say how bad our front line is at the moment. Misprofile of players that have turned out to be not very good or like poor in season, the likes of Wissa. Obviously, misprofile in terms of Voltamada or Solo we've been trying to sell for ages, even though he's having an upturn in form. And I feel like the young players that we're looking for are going to be of his mold. although whether he's good enough or not is to stay on for next season remains to be seen. I thought he might be, but despite the goals he's scoring, I think Newcastle will be looking for better talent. So let's talk about it. We've also heard from the I newspaper how it's going to be very different. Our recruitment is going to be very different. How we approach our recruitment is going to be very different. So let's get into it. Let's kick things off. And some people are going to be like, no, Solanke. Let's do it anyway. Don't worry, there's more than one player we're looking at. But I wanted to kick off with Solanke because it keeps on getting mentioned, right? Newcastle interested in Tottenham striker amid relegation concerns. That's one of the big reasons why Newcastle are looking at Solanke. Should Tottenham get relegated, he will be available for a cut price. He's also, like I said, been linked to Newcastle. Also previously worked under Eddie Howe at Bournemouth. Eddie Howe brought him into Bournemouth themselves, and he being Dominic Solanke, later helped them get promoted with his goals as well. So there's a lot there in terms of Solanke, in terms of the rumours around him as well. He's 28 years old. Dual nationality, English and Nigerian. He obviously plays for England. Favorite position striker, currently at Tottenham. 6'2", so got the height, and in terms of his preferred foot is right as well. In the English senior national, former Chelsea academy player as well. Highly ranked. Now this is the problem, not problem, but situation I had with him. He's currently on, all in, bonuses including 175k a week, which is basically us taking out Wissa and bringing in someone else with the same with the same pay packet, which is crazy. So that's part of my hesitancy, but that's why it makes me think that we sell Wissa. There's a potential that we sell Voltemade as well, and or Rosola as well. This is how dramatic maybe some of those changes might be, that we might make those type of losses, and or the cost in terms of might be covered by the Gordon sell or maybe Jacob Murphy sell, that kind of situation. I wonder if they're looking at it from that perspective. So why would they want him? Part of the reason is, well, this is a heat map from last season where he scored. Let me just double make sure. He got like 15 to 20 GA. Had a really good season last season. And you can see that from his heat map, he takes up these real central positions in the penalty box. Can also play in the half spaces where needed. The heat maps in his own half is obviously when they're defending. Now, what we have to keep in mind is that Solanke has been playing for a very dysfunctional Spurs side, especially for the last 2-3 years, and his stats have been impacted by that as well. So we're going to be talking. So it's important to keep that in mind. Connor says, "Hell no to Solanke. He is 20 million player tops. That might be how much he goes for as well. But he takes up these central positions as well in the penalty box, which is really good for us. His hold up play is really good, and we're gonna talk about that. Hence why I think Newcastle might be interested in. The other situation, though, this is his injury record. Oh my word! I had to dedicate a whole slide to Solanke's injury record. And when anybody watches the program, watches this podcast, they'll know that typically I can have the heat map and this injury record of the players, not of Solanke. I had to dedicate a whole map, a whole page to it. You have to keep perspective though. He is 28 years old. He's not 18 years old. So there's going to be a longer history. However, that history is also not very good. And from 15 seasons 15, 16, Achilles tendons, he's got about how many hamstring injuries? One, two. I thought I saw a third one. But he's got two hamstring injuries already, 18 and 19 season, as well as he had two hamstrings in 18, 19 season, actually. He hasn't had a hamstring injury since then. He's got three ankle injuries. Jeez. He's got a lot. Last year, 25, 20. Oh no, this year, 25, 26 season. He's missed 33 games this season, 139 days through ankle surgery. And he's had big injuries previously as well. Bournemouth, where he missed 13 games as well, playing for Bournemouth with a groin strain. So those are the major injuries he's had as well. So his injury record is quite big. And for a 28-year-old. So it's interesting that we're interested in him. Maybe it's something that would also be looked at in terms of price as well. Connors is another wizard. Chess says, sometimes I think these journals deliberately link us to players they know would annoy us. Solanke and DCL will constantly link to us, despite us never making contact. That is true, but DCL was doing really well. So I was thinking, geez, maybe we should have. But I think we were seriously looking at DCL as well. It was his wage that was the problem. Now this is Solanke's metrics, and we also want to keep it in contact. We're going to look at Tottenham in a moment. This is Solanke's metrics for the last 2 seasons playing for Tottenham. Very, very, as I mentioned, these metrics are hugely, hugely impacted by the fact that he's played for a very dysfunctional Tottenham side. In the previous year, I was looking it up. So last year, he got 16 goals and eight assists, so 24 GA playing for Tottenham. This year, he's got 6 goals. Part of that is obviously he's had injuries, and part of that is playing for a team that's in relegation. So you can see that his stats from last season have actually shrunk. So, sorry guys, my sinus are kicking in, which is unsurprising considering that he's playing for Tottenham. Non-penalty goals have gone to 40 percentile. Goal conversion has dropped to 56 percentile from 60 as well. Aerial duels have gone lower as well. Obviously, touches in the box have reduced as well to 50. He's got 1,000 minutes this season. This is in the Premier League stat. So a lot of it is gone down. However, what are part of his strengths? Central number 9, very good at playing in between the lines, not just in the box. He's got key traits in terms of linking up play. His movement is very, very, very good. Good work rate and pressing, something that some of our strikers are missing at the moment. And is physically capable in duels and hold-up play, which makes him very, very valuable in bringing other players in as well. He has limitations. He's got low XG. Again, I think that's affected by the fact that he's playing for Tottenham at the moment as well. So he's a hardworking. So in summary, he's a hardworking link and play type of striker, right? And Tottenham at the moment, if you're looking at them in attack, are in a 45th percentile. They're low in literally every metrics. Attack 45 percentile, possession 46 percentile, counter attack 21 percentile. This is a team that's seriously struggling, and this has an impact on his metrics as well. If you look at this year's heat map, we just looked at the 2 heat maps across the seasons as well. This year, he's having to be more deeper, more involved across the pitch in terms of how they play. And remember, they had about 3 or 4 managers as well. Whereas last year, he was more central, higher up the box, which is where Ange wanted him to be as well. And and he was getting a lot more goals. He got way more goals last season playing for Ange, pressing up top as well. And that's the thing. He's more of a natural fit for a high pressing physical team. Cue Newcastle. And that's a big reason why Howe wants him. Pressing forward, leads the press, able to link the play, is intense as well. Really good at winning duels when he's around players that when he's in a good team, essentially. When he's not by himself. And he suits our style of play. So he suits us where we're currently at in terms of our identity and our press and where we're at. So that's why I wanted to mention him. Now he's one of many players that a couple of players I wanted to mention him. And I don't want, what I'm trying to not to do is look at him in isolation. So if we do end up selling Wissa and Osola and or Voltemada, we could be bringing in 2, maybe 3 forwards. And what Voltemada probably represents is a higher base or a higher floor to a Wissa. And then if you surround him with other younger players who are ready to start, then maybe a signing like this makes sense. And maybe that's why we are getting linked to him. But let me know what you guys think. Keep him in mind as we go forward. Now, some of the hot prospects across Europe. We're going to look at 2, and we're going to do a part 2 probably for next show. A part where the higher tier strikers that we might go for. But these are the potential higher tier strikers. The first one is this gentleman, Romulo Cardoso, who's also on the radar for Villa and Brentford and Fulham. This is in the 15th of April. But Newcastle are also closely monitoring him. Let me know in the chat if you know him or who he is. And that's come from Ekrem Kanor. Now, Cardoso is a modern forward. He's a Brazilian of birth. He's got a commanding physical presence in the final third. He's a power forward. And he's been establishing himself in the Bundesliga playing for RB Leipzig. He's currently 24 years old and he turns 25 early, next year, essentially February, I think it is. Brazilian, as mentioned, and he is 6'4" tall. He's 6'4" tall, known for his athletic build and hunched gait. So he's often compared to Benjamin Sesko. In fact, he was the replacement to Benjamin Sesko. So it lets you know what kind of profile type of player he is. And it shouldn't be too surprising that we're going in for him as well, that we're watching him essentially. So think of that kind of profile of player. Now, the other player we're looking at is this young forward by the name of Rodrigo. I've got his first name now. Goodness gracious, where have I got his name? I've got his name, Rodrigo. For Elche. I forgot his surname now. Alvaro. So his first name is Alvaro Rodrigo. That's his name. Alvaro Rodriguez. Alvaro Rodriguez. He's Uruguayan, date of birth. He's a Real Madrid academy player who plays for Elche, who currently plays for Elche and was sold to Elche as well for about £2 million as well. Although Real Madrid has always have a sell-on fee on him as well. Now, there's a lot going on about him actually, and there's a lot of comparisons to Isak and the likes. Now, he's a modern target man who utilizes. He's also 6'4", so tall as well, as aerial dominance and hold up play. While the metrics don't always bear that out, but this is what his scouting reports say about him. He excels as a focal point for long balls. He is mobile. We could use with him against Arsenal. He is mobile enough to drop to link in play, and is noted for his high defensive work rate. And he's predominantly left-footed, which is interesting as well. So let me know if you guys have heard of him as well. Some really, really important scouting reports about him that are very, very excited. James says, I like him a lot, Romolu. I hear good things about him as well. Like, honestly, I like Garcia. He's so much better. I like. I'm trying to understand Garcia. Let me know why is you like Garcia. Obviously, he's nothing bad about him, but I find it hard to picture how he would play for us, James. But let me just. So their contracts, as you can imagine, are very different to Solanke's. Romolu on the left for RB Leipzig is currently on €36,000 all in, bonuses included. So it's anywhere between like 25 to 35 grand a week. So we can definitely offer a very lucrative contract for him and still be within our SCR limits, essentially. However, his contract runs out in 2030, and we know how RB Leipzig are when it comes to negotiating very high fees for their players. But it could be worth it. But this is what we're talking about in terms of not having to not overspend too quickly on players as well. Now, Alvaro on the right here is currently on altogether on €20,000 a week as well. So he's even lower than Romolo himself. So again, wages a lot lower compared to where Wissa, Voltamada, even Osola, they're on about the same, even less. I think Osola's about 35K. So he's even earning more money than them at the moment. And Alvaro's contract runs out in 2029. So again, some room for maneuver for these clubs. Now this year, if you look at their stats in terms of GA, you can see at the top there, Mr. Alvaro, excuse me. In fact, let me just double check that. I'm going to get back to those stats in a moment. But Alvaro is, I didn't put his score on here, which is annoying. But there's other metrics I wanted to mention for him. Let me just make sure I got this. How many goals has Alvaro got? Alvaro Rodriguez. Here we go. So he's on 9 GA this season. He's on 9 GA with 30 starts. So not too bad. I think it's his first season in the senior pros. What's interesting though is matches played 30. So he's got about 20% chance of scoring a goal. But he also takes about 3 shots every game. And that's very, very good. And that's the stuff that's the underlying stats that scouts will be looking at. This is very good to get 3 shots in a game for a team that's not overly attacking. He's on 0.9 in terms of shots on target per game, which is very, very good as well. So he's more than likely to get shots on target as well. So that's the volume of shots is very, very high. To compare, for instance, Voltamada is on 1.6 shots per game. So what Alvaro has is the ability to create shots for himself. If you look the same also for Mr. Romelu, he's taken about 2.4 shots a game, which is pretty average, which is not too bad. He's about 30% likely to score a goal. He's got a better goal record at the moment this season, as mentioned earlier. As well. And he's got about what's his shots on target? He gets about he gets on 1.0 shots on target. So he's pretty good with his shooting as well. Good quality shots as well. So they're both tall, both athletic, both got an eye for goal, and both get pretty good volume of shots as well. And if you look at their heat maps, looking at Alvaro at the top, Alvaro is a little bit more balanced. You can see him on the left and right half spaces, as well as in the box itself, in terms of the heat map. And you can see that he's the main outlet for his team. He doesn't spend too much time at all in terms of in his own team's half. Romolo's a little bit different. He can drop into the left parts of those into to help defend for his team, for Leipzig as well. Leipzig are a transition team, but he spends a lot more time on the left side of the pitch here. If you see him here, in the half space, but also in the penalty box as well, which is a little bit different. And I think that's down to the team's play style. So let's look at Alvaro's scouting report, and so let me know what you guys are thinking so far. Big up to you, Robojog. Take care of yourself. Take care, Ches. God bless as always. Great to have you on the show. Right, so Alvaro. This is taken from his scouting report by TFA technical staff. They're really excited about him. It was this report was on February 18th, 2026. Right? So they've described him as his role as a target man, a physical monster. That's how they described him. They said Alvaro Rodriguez is a unique physical specimen, standing at 1.93, so 6 foot tall, who has become the focal point of Elche's attack following his move from Real Madrid, often referred to as Pegasus. Pegasus, the mythical creature. Excuse me. Right, let me take that off actually as well. So it's referred to as Pegasus. They say he's a rare striker profile who combines elite aerial dominance with surprising mobility. He excels as a facilitator, using his dueling machine nature to dominate defenders while simultaneously developing into savvy link-up player. Now, what is interesting is that it's good to have. That's why you got to have eyes and you got to have metrics. The metrics don't come out as him being a dueling monster, but clearly, obviously, what they've observed of the player is that he's very strong and very capable in terms of duels. And they've ranked him as in the 99 percentile for aerial duels. That's not what comes on Data MB, so that's an interesting one. He is a constant menace in the box, capable of generating higher volume headed shots and winning long ball flicks and release wingers into space. And to be fair to him, his shots on target reflect that, and his volume of shots reflect that. Transition and carrying, despite his size, he is an impressive ball carrier with the ball at his feet. He utilizes a long stride to eat up ground in transition, capable of winning 1v1s and creating his own shooting angles in open play. He's sounding more and more like Isak. Defensive workhorse, which works very hard off the ball, and hold up and link up play, which is crucial for the way we want to play. Actively improving as a facilitator, he's using his physical monster frame to shield the ball, allowing Elche's midfield to push forward, which is what we want Voltemada to do. And perhaps he's not doing that. Hence why we're looking at the likes of Alvaro Rodriguez for that. So, pros and cons. The pros are he's an aerial threat, he has physical presence, he's good in transition speed, and his work ethic is relentless. However, there are weaknesses, and that is his finishing rawness can be erratic. That would improve maybe with the better team he plays and quality of the more quality of opportunities he gets as well. His passing accuracy can be quite low as well, which isn't unreasonable compared for a forward. Discipline. He's prone to a yellow card due to high intensity and pressing. I don't think Eddie Howe would mind that. Ball losses, higher volume of turnovers when isolated. So it's important for him not to be isolated, which I think we can do. So the final verdict on him is that Alvaro Rodriguez is one of the most exciting under 21 centre forwards in Europe. While he remains raw in his finishing efficiency, his unparalleled aerial presence and mobility in transition provide a tactical point of difference for Elche. He has a high ceiling asset and is rapidly evolving into a top-tier European facilitator. So they speak really, really highly of him. Like as I said, if I look at Data MB, his aerial dominance thing isn't as high as what they're saying, but everyone's got different stats, to be honest, and TFA are really good. James says, I don't know much about the Uruguay gentleman, but Alvaro, but he would be the adaptation, but he would need adaptation. I think he need adaptation. I'll have to do a bit more research on them. Remind me on Tuesday. I'm looking into it during the show. Please do. But I hear a lot from you can see from the scouting profile here, these guys are very, very excited about him. Now, this is his stats. Oh, sorry, I was wrong. I was wrong. I was thinking about the wrong player. My apologies, guys. I kept on saying his aerial duels aren't that good, but they are. They're phenomenal. So I take all of that back. I must have been thinking about a different striker. But you can see already from his stats, his aerial duels are phenomenal. He is indeed in 94th percentile. So that means two different data sets have confirmed that. That's where he's very, very, very good at. Offensive duels, again, something that Voltemade is not good at, is in the 87th percentile. So he's got aerial dominance and physical dominance as well. Where he is getting really good at as well in terms of non-penalty goals XG, which is good for him. However, you can see that he's lacking in terms of touches in the box. Conversion rate is super low, and non-penalty goals. So that's the areas that he really needs to look to work at. That could be attributed to, obviously, this is Elche. So Elche are a high possession team. They're also in 88th percentile for high pressing, but they have a very, very low attacking output. So it could be that they have a load of workhorses for individual players, but maybe not quite the quality to split open defenses, have a little bit more guile, a little bit more craftsmanship, especially in the final third in the final third of the opposition's area and goal. So that's an interesting one from that perspective as well. We know we've obviously talked about his heat map as well before, but that might explain some of his stats as well. But he's definitely that creative outlet for them. But he's creative for himself quite a bit as well. Does he suit Newcastle? Newcastle are high pressing, physical, and direct. His ability in the air and physical presence make him very, very good candidate for us. And he's got a high XG profile. He fits our pressing intensity. There's a risk though. There is a risk, and that is that he may waste chances in a team with limited creation, which we can have at times. But someone of his profile, i.e., Isak, has really thrived playing for Newcastle as well. So it's a strong tactical fit for us, but he does need to improve his finishing. So let's have a quick look at him in terms of YouTube highlights, and let me know what you guys think of him. And then we'll do Mr. Whoop, got that one wrong. Let me share this with you guys. Can you guys see that? Oh no, you can't see that. Let's have a look at Mr. Alvaro Rodriguez. You guys let me know who he reminds you of. I was going to look at this, but this is 3 years ago. Let's have a look at this. Let me just double check you guys can see that. Yeah, you can. All right. So obviously plays for Elche. There you go. That hold up play, that strength there you saw. The aerial ability, that presence there. First thing you see is him scoring. Picks up the ball. Really good at running. 6'4", guys. He does remind me of Isak in his frame. I'll say that right from the jump. Yeah, he does remind me of Isak. Very interesting profile. The way he is, there is great movement on the back of the defender there. Picks it up, pulls it. Great goal. 6'4". Great finish with his left foot as well. I think he's left-footed, but it's very, very balanced across the half spaces as well. Great hold-up play. This is what they're talking about, him creating his own chances. This is him going past one or two players, having to do that and still finishing it off. And the way our system is, we need a player that can do that. And you can see his link-up play is really, really good as well. He's a bit of a Isak / look at that, going past two or three players / Pedro. I'll be so surprised that Newcastle aren't at least giving him some view, but I'm impressed by this. This is my first time looking at his highlights in this. No, actually, I've seen his highlights before, but not this particular clip. Hold up play. Look at him creating shots and goals for opportunities for his up for other players, taking time to look up as well. He's got real physical presence. There's him on the left picking it up. Look at that for a ball. Look at that for a ball. Unbelievable. That was him creating it for his teammate there as well. You know, I don't I, I don't want to. I feel like a kid. I know it's YouTube. I know it's the Dennis Wise guy, where people say, but his frame and his ability and his like uh what you can see, combined with the scan profile that we read, the metrics, they kind of bear out a lot about him. It's a very, very interesting profile of player. Very, very interesting. There's a real kind of, like I said, there's a real Isak for me slash Joe Pedro about him as well. Oh, goodness, that was close. Unlucky there as well. Find himself. Look at that. Look at his movement, by the way. Look at his movement just to get in between those two players there. Look at his movement. Is it going to show it? Yeah, just gets himself in between the two strikers there. Lovely work. This is him. This is what's about creating opportunities by himself. Two versus two, or two one-on-one. No one around him, but he's got the strength. He's got the ability to get past his man. And that's what's important for us. This is the type of striker. Oh, look at that. Over the top as well. Lovely. This time with his right foot, dribbling with that's the left foot, sorry. Drags it. Pass one, pass two. Rise the challenges. They can't tame him. Guys, I'm really excited about this player. The only unfortunate thing is, though, guys, I haven't seen any links to him. But let me know what you guys think. I'm really, 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 I'm really, really impressed with him, to be honest. I really like him. Right, so let's look at his other this Romolo as well. Romolo's a bit older. You have to keep that in mind. This was a scouting report by Andy Jones, Andy Naylor, and Matt Prozowski from updated via RB Leipzig technical dossier. This is from their technical dossier from RB Leipzig. So this was done in. It wasn't done today. It wasn't done today. I can't remember what year. I want to say it was this year, but it wasn't done today. So core profile, the Brazilian Tower. So Romolu. And by the way, let me know about what you guys think about Alvaro. I'm really impressed by his highlights and everything else about him. So core profile, the Brazilian Tower. Romulo Jose Cardoso de Cruz, called the full name, has rapidly evolved from a promotion hero at Grotsberg. So he's been through the tough times fighting relegation, fighting to get promotion. From Gostsper into one of the Bundesliga's most formidable pivot strikers. Following a record-breaking 20 million euros move to RB Leipzig in August 2025, replacing Šeško, obviously, to replace Man United-bound Benjamin Šeško, he has seamlessly integrated into Oli Werner's high-intensity system. We've got a high-intensity system. He's also 6'4". He provides a unique tactical paradox, the height of a traditional target man with a free-style technical floor of a Brazilian street footballer. And that's super interesting. So you know that he's good with his feet. Key scouting attributes: elite aerial authority. So he wins 65% of his duels. Modern pressing machine, a top character, a workhorse who spearheads Leipzig's frontline press. His high stamina and athletic build allow him to maintain defensive pressures for 90 minutes, making him a defensive power in the final third. Lots to like about him already. Technically assured pivot. Unlike traditional big man, Romolu possesses a soft and assured first touch. He can eliminate defenders with a single touch under pressure and excels at playing vertical line skipping passes that transition the team during defensive attack. And RB Leipzig are a very transition team as well. So it makes sense for us. I think it'll suit our style of play. He's calm and calm composition and finishing. So he's a natural goal scorer who remains unfazed in high strikes, high stakes derbies, which probably has come with age. He has contributed to 11 direct goal involvements in his first 21 Bundesliga games. So He's a little bit more of a finished article compared to Alvaro. So pros and cons. Pros: physical dominance, tactical IQ, elite positioning from him, versatility. He can drop into the 10 or drift to the wing, which is interesting. And mental poise. He's a vocal leader and selfless team first team character. It sounds like Bruno Gomes. Weaknesses: aerial accuracy, can still be more aggressive with headed shots. Risk profile: occasionally forces the ball into limited spaces, so it takes a bit too much risk sometimes. Inbox volume, needs more consistent inbox activity to maximize his XG. And adaptation, still refining the decision making against elite low blocks. So that might be the fact that he's got a lot of talent, but he hasn't got to play against elite opposition for a consistent period of time. So the verdict is Romolu is the purebred number 9. The Premier League's elite have been monitoring his ability to blend raw physical power with clean technical facilitation, makes him the ideal heir to the modern pivot striker era. Currently on the radar of Aston Villa, Arsenal, and Newcastle. He is widely considered the most Premier League striker in the Bundesliga with a potential summer 2026 move. Valued at 55 million euros, about 50 million pounds. Very, very affordable, and with his wages as well. So that's his metrics as well. You can see there. He's a high volume striker, vocal as well. So you can see that he's elite and he's got excellent positioning. Hence why his touches in the box are in the elite areas as well. 90 percentile. Expected assist, 82 percentile, very, very high. Non-penalty goals is in the 90 percentile as well, I think. Yes, they are. But improvements in his offensive duels and conversion rate. So he's elite in his box movement and his elite movement as a striker as well, which is good for him. He's got a well-rounded attacking profile really for us. A bit of limitations: moderate finishing, low dual success rate. Not sure why that is. He's known as a tower according to profiles, and is less suited to physical profiles. If you're looking at these stats alone, the scouting profiles tell a different story about him. So that's the part that's interesting. So let's have a look at him physically. So just to add though, before we do that, RB Leipzig obviously are a high possession, high transition team, and very vertical in their attacks. Though they're not as high pressing as they used to be, but they create a lot of chances for him. You can see they got a lot of goals, a lot of attacking, a lot of possession. So he gets a high volume of chances where he is thriving quite a lot. So we talked about his strengths. Let's look at him. Let's look at him in the highlights and see what he has to offer. Please do remember to like, share, and subscribe. Where is it? Where is my Here we go. All right, folks. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe as well. I'm impressed with these guys. I like the players that we're looking at today. Romulo, Cardoso. A lot of good things about him. Let's see what we can get. This is 10 months ago. Is there anything more recent, more new? Let's see. I wanted to get something more new. Let me see if I can get something more new. Trying to look for something more new. I might have to use the ones where he was at Grotz. I can't even pronounce the name. Where is it? Let's find it. Okay, here we go. Let me share this with you guys. Oh, wrong one. Here we go. No, wrong one. Let's find it. All right. So Romulo Cardoso. Now a lot of this is from his. Most of it actually, if anything, is from his before he was at Leipzig. There's not a lot of Leipzig highlights, which is interesting. There might be. I think there's a goal there we might look at. So let's have a look at this. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can. 6'4". You see him on the tail end there. That's where the finishes is. That's where the finishing is there as well. Movement. That's him picking up. That's him making those runs again. Good pace, good strength. Takes over from the defender. Finish. That's where the finish comes from. Really, really good finish there. You can see him always on the shoulder of the defenders. Lovely chest down. Oof, unlucky. Unlucky. Again on the shoulder of the defender again. Finish. Doesn't finish it this time. Can he finish it second time? Ah, better. Cross the pass as well. Decent first touch as well. Got that goal off. 6'4". You can see how it's different to Alvaro, where a lot of his highlights are especially in the box or direct running into the box, like the ball going to him there. That type of movement is really, really good. 1-on-1 with the keeper. Oh wow, he didn't. I thought he messed up there, but he got a good pass there. Again, really, really good movement. Beating the offside trap as well. On the shoulder of the defender, on the periphery of their eye vision as well. Which again is very, very important for the way we want to play, the way we want to be able to play. Again, on the shoulder defender, powerful, strong. You see the defenders, took out 3 players there. Great finish. Great finish there. I want to catch one highlight from him at Leipzig, because they did have Leipzig ones. Like a recent goal or something. I want to see how they do it. So they've got him here. My first time looking for it. So you have to forgive me. Where is he? And he was rewarded for it. Really good. He's different from Elche. I would have wanted to see a little bit more, because they were talking about his skills and everything else. I wanted to see a little bit of him getting past players and everything else. But, well, he was kind of actually, in terms of on the shoulder of defenders as well. But I think they're both very, very impressive strikers. Let me know what you guys think. Wobajog. Oh, Wobajog, for you left. Good to see you. Is he still here? Because, the Elche striker looks promising. He does. He does look promising. I'll have to keep tabs on him. The annoying thing is that Newcastle aren't linked to him whatsoever. So if it was between one, I had a whole ton of things I wanted to talk about, but we've run out of time really. But Alvaro, Elche, from Elche, Dominic Solanke from Tottenham, and Romolu from Leipzig. All really impressive strikers. You can see the young players that Newcastle will be looking at. Or probably less and less of the type of Solankes, considering what's happened with Wissa. But I think if we're looking at it as a whole, if Newcastle were to sell Wissa, Voltamad, or Sola, and you just get your remote, if you get if you get Alvaro, 21-year-old, you need to surround him with. I think you need to surround players like that with veteran type of strikers or proven strikers like your Solankes. Hence why we're looking at them. So I wouldn't be surprised if we were to do that. And there is some financial headroom to be able to do that. So it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. But it's a lot of money for your Solankes, if anything. But certainly Alvaro looks very, very impressive. Romolu looks good as well. I know, James, you know who he is. So let's keep tabs on them. I think when I do a part 2 on the strikers, I'm going to bring them back and I'm going to kind of show also how it might look in harmony in terms of like who our free strikers would be. And does it mean, I know Wiss is going to go, Osola's got a high chance of going as well. Could it also spell the end for Voltemada? I don't know. I think it's about 80% chance that he stays. But if he does stay, how does our attack look with him in it? I think that would be really interesting to see as well. Wobbledrug says, before you finish the show, I wanted your thoughts about my hypothesis about differences between managers. I haven't seen what you wrote, Wobbledrug. What did you say about managers? Let me look up. What did you say about managers, Wobbledrug? I can't see it. I think, is it this one? I think EPL managers are closer in terms of tactical capacity than points. The main difference is their emotional IQ, how they manage their squad's mental state, the actual quality of their squads. Yes. So it's less tactical. It's more about the emotional and kind of are they teaching them? And you know what? Those are the parts of the game that people don't talk enough. I think we do, but sometimes we do it for a banter type of situation. So say for instance, like Liam Rosinia, he always gets tagged a name like LinkedIn Liam, young Liam, and you can tell that like he's a really like modern guy, but he maybe lacks a bit of authority. But I think that's what we're trying to say, really, where maybe when I say modern guy, he's got the style of, and it's been noticed in Strasbourg, where he's the type of person, he's one of those parents that want to be friends with their kids, right? Rather than uh, being their father. He wants to be their friend, that type of person. And with these players, that's the approach that he took, where you can see that working in parts, but you've also got to have the discipline, but you've also got to have the authority. If they just see you as one of them and you try to instill authority, which I don't think he likes to do from his interviews or what I've seen, you're going to struggle. Then you've got the likes of Carlo Ancelotti. I know that he's not a Premier League, well, he was once a Premier League manager, but not current. It's about emotional intelligence. Even Guardiola, but I like Ancelotti because he's especially famous for this, where players really, really like him, really love him, and they look at him as a father figure. He does things like he visits their homes, has lunch and dinner with them. But if you hear some of the stories in terms of when he cuts people out of teams, where he rotates, like he doesn't explain it, and what his philosophy on that is that he never explains himself to players around it. He doesn't like, because he didn't like it as a player either. So even though he's got that, he gives that love and that appreciation for his players. He's also got a fine balance of, we've got to win, we've got to do this or that, and that's proven in his trophy cabinet as well. So a lot of emotional intelligence, a lot of IQ as well. It's why I think Eddie Howe is an incredible manager. If you look at what everybody seems to say about him, even the players that have left and weren't in the squad really, really, really rate him. So that's where we're at. Let me know if I kind of spoke about what you're speaking about, but I totally agree. If anything, that's something I need to explore a lot more in my shows as well. But guys, you've been absolutely phenomenal. Some of you have been here with me the whole 2.5, nearly 3 hours. God bless you for that. I hope you enjoyed the show. We started the show talking about, would you say exactly, I came to this conclusion the more I follow Arteta versus Pep. Well, that's the difference, isn't it? Especially how Pep is now handling Turkey, isn't it? If you see how Pep is handling Turkey, it's very, very different as well. He's giving them a lot of leeway, but he's paying off. But guys, that's a really good call, by the way, Mobojo. We started off the show reading an article from Mark Douglas on PIF. Are they still interested? Is Eddie Howe gonna keep his job? yes to both, essentially. But there's changes afoot. A lot of changes afoot. Whether Eddie Howe wants to stick around for those changes is up to him. But we also talked about the match preview for the Arsenal game. It's going to be very, very tough. It's going to be a mental battle as well as a tactical battle. Can we take the suffocating style of Arsenal? Can we be defensively resilient and strong? And can we cause thank you, Wobblejog. Can we cause damage on the other end? Can we get some goals on the other end? I put it to 1-1. We'll see what happens. And then finally, we did a scouting review on Dominic Solanke, Alvaro Rodriguez, and Romulo Cardoso. Really, really excited about the last two, especially Alvaro. And I have to make a point. Thank you, James. God bless you. And I have to make a point. I'm sure James is going to be doing as well, to follow Alvaro. He's got a very, very good profile about him. Like I said, he reminds me of Isak stroke, João Pedro kind of thing about him as well. So, but the thing is, there's no links to Newcastle to him, which is annoying. Hopefully that changes. But as always, folks, you've been absolutely phenomenal. We've got the game tomorrow. Do look out for it. You might see me on NUFC Talk TV as well, doing the match preview for the game around for 3 o'clock. So if you can, do come out, do lock in and watch. But as always, folks, God bless. Make sure you look after yourself. And as always, God bless you all.